Something I often tell my students about at the beginning of classes is that I was doing German in the class one day and I'd written a sentence, and the teacher came over to me and she told me I'd made a mistake. And I said, well, what is it? And she said, well, you need to conjugate the first verb, but don't conjugate the second verb. Move the second verb to the end of the sentence and make sure to maintain the time, manner, place rule in the middle. And I looked at her and I said, what's a verb? Now, this is quite typical of my early experience of learning a language, in that I didn't get it, and when it was explained to me, I got it even less. And I simply tended to feel very confused and very frustrated, because no matter how hard I tried to learn the language, I simply ended up going in circles. And effectively, these experiences I had made me want to give up, because it was very frustrating. And I think anyone who encounters something which is that frustrating and where they simply can't make any progress, they tend to give up on it. Because what's the point on continuing to work at something when you make no progress? Or you continue to work on it, but you just seem to go backwards, and none of the explanations and none of the help you're given actually succeeds in allowing you to go forwards at all in the language. Well, later, after I'd left school and I went to university to study, and I was still interested in learning a foreign language. I think for me, to be completely honest, in some ways it's just something I thought would be immensely cool. To be able to speak a foreign language with people, I always wanted to be able to do it. But the old problem was still there, and every so often I would have a go at it. I'd buy a textbook or a course, and inevitably it would not work, and all the same problems. And I think all the same problems everyone encounters. They buy a course, it talks about going to the shops or having two brothers and sisters, and you learn how to say, I'm 25 years old, I like to eat hamburgers, but you can't actually have a conversation with anyone. I was walking through the centre of Manchester one day, and I came across a second-hand bookshop. And I used to like spending my time in those bookshops back then, and I came across an old French textbook. And inside there was a quote which said, "Grammar is the art of lifting the difficulties out of a language. The lever should not be heavier than the burden." And what I took this as meaning was that if you learn the grammar of a language, it should make it easier, not more complicated. The more I considered it, the more I decided that I wanted to go back to trying to learn a language and to trying to apply this principle that grammar should help you lift the difficulties out of a language, not make it harder. Right, let's begin, and the first thing I'll say is you won't be needing your pens or papers for this course, so you can get rid of them now if you'd like. The teaching methodology was born initially out of an effort to make everything complicated simple. Not to dumb it down, but simply to explain it in a different way, to teach it in a different order, and to teach language that people could actually use to communicate. All right. I have in Spanish is E. Spelt H-E. But you don't pronounce the H in Spanish, it's silent. So I have is E. To say visited in Spanish, visited, you'll take the English word visit, and on the end you'll add the ardo from the end of the word bravado. It's very simple. Take the English word visit and add the ardo from bravado on the end. And that's visited. So how do you think you'd say visited in Spanish?
Visitado.
Good. Most of us don't start a conversation talking about how many brothers or sisters we have. We don't even tend to talk about what our favourite food is. Instead, we want to say, how are you? We need to make arrangements. We need to say things like, I'm going there later, will you be along too? Oh no, I can't make it, I'm just so busy today. So to actually be able to chat and engage with people How would you say I have invited Paul to Madrid?
Yo he
Good.
invitado who is it? Paul a Madrid.
Good.
Reserva. Una mesa. Para Siena.
For the dinner.
Para la Cena.
For 2 people.
Para dos personas.
Good.
Su madre ha preparado el café para mí.
Very good.
Oh,
Perfect. Look at that. The feedback we get tends to be universally the same thing. In fact, I can almost tell students the feedback before they tell me, because everyone does say more or less the same thing.
But any other experience of learning a language is at school, where you're taught in a rote fashion, sitting in rows in a desk and trying to understand the grammar and never understanding it. But this way is much quicker, and I really wish my children had had the chance at school to learn this way.
And by relating to the language you already speak, you quickly are able to sort of grasp big chunks of the vocabulary, which gives you confidence to kind of progress from there.
I think for me the main difference in Paul's method was there was no pressure on getting it right the first time. So you were encouraged to make mistakes and forget things, and then he would teach you again. So it takes a lot of the pressure off.
I felt more relaxed. It gave me so much confidence that I feel I can go on and learn any other language. And I just wish that I had a teacher just like Paul when I was studying.
And I think anybody who's maybe had not the best experience with learning a language, say at school, I think it is a method that will give people a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I think if you were just going abroad for a holiday or a business trip, you could learn in a couple of hours enough stuff which would make your trip massively more sort of beneficial, much more fun. So it would definitely.
The audio courses that I've created with Collins use exactly the same methodology. And the way they work really is that the student at home, the student listening, plays the part of one of my one-to-one students. So normally when I teach people one-to-one, I lead them through the language, I explain it in a way that they'll definitely understand, and I build the language up with them so that in a short period of time they can actually speak the language and communicate in it. When we've moved this over to the audio courses, it works in exactly the same way, except instead of having a student sitting in front of me and with me sitting there teaching them, they're simply sitting at home in an armchair, but the experience is exactly the same. So there's no difference really than coming to the language school with me than learning it at home. Same method, same process. There is perhaps an added advantage to the audio course in that they can go at their own pace.